If I knew how to play music, I would play you on music. So y'all have to dance for pretend there's music on. We'll get started in a little bit. Send some messages to your teams, tell them to hop on. I'll see if I can find out how to play music. We are going to start in 1 minute. Send your teams a message, tell them to hop on. We want to see their beautiful or handsome faces. We will get started here in just a minute. All right, you got about 20 seconds. Send some messages out. We want to see your teammates, especially your newest partners. Tell them to hop on. We're going to have a call with our CEO, Brian Underwood, and we're going to have a great conversation. So send out some messages real quick. Tell me in the chat where you're tuning in from. I'm tuning in from Florida, and it is beautiful here. It's already hot and sunny. And so if you need to come and visit, which so many of you are hopefully going to see us in Tampa here shortly. So drop a one in the chat if you have your Tampa crossings or crossover ticket. If you're going to join us in Florida, I'd love to see you. All right. You guys, the event is going to be incredible. If you don't know what that is, make sure that you talk to the person that you're working with and be like, what does the Florida event look like? What are you going? Get your ticket. Why should I come? I'm going to tell you why you should come. It will change your business. And so, my name is Stephanie Milky. I've been a part of Pruvit for it'll be 11 years in June, which is crazy. My husband Steve introduced me to ketones. I was super skeptical, got to meet our CEO, who you'll hear from in a second. I was really super skeptical, and then I love the product. The product changed my life. And then I also needed the opportunity. I needed this to change our family's life. I needed grocery money. I needed a van that wasn't held together by duct tape. Listen, I showed Brian this the other day. It was about 2 days ago. I sent him a message and I said, Brian, I don't joke about this, but drop a two in the chat if you get a car bonus, if you're receiving a Pruvit car. So when Brian and I first talked years and years ago, I remember saying, I would love, this is what I have. I was like, I'd love a van that's not held together by duct tape. I just sent him this. So let's see, this was in 2011. Here's what my van looked like. Can y'all see it? Let me turn it. And I'm super thankful, but I promise you, I would say, Brian, I need a van that's not held together by duct tape. And this opportunity and this community and the personal growth and our CEO believing in myself and my family, has changed our life. And so, listen, it wasn't overnight, but what we did over 10 years ago and what we are doing now, it's always exciting. And I'm just excited to have you on here tonight. So we have an event coming up. I'm going to give you some more updates at the end, but here's what I want you to know is we're going to have a conversation tonight around speed in your business, what that looks like. You could go, this is the only business that you can start and you create the speed, right? And you can actually create very quick momentum. But if you were to go and let's say buy a brick and mortar business, it takes time. You have to get sometimes permits. You might actually have to build it. You have to fill out paperwork. You might have to get a loan. Like there's no speed in that. That actually takes a long time. So what we can create here is super, super, not only just exciting and it's impactful, it's powerful. And so that's the conversation. We're talking about speed. And so our CEO, Brian Underwood, if you have not met him and you're brand new, hey, drop a 3 if you've only been here a couple months, or just tell me how long you've been here. If you're pretty brand new partner, drop a 3. Or how long have you been with Pruvit? So I want you to know if you've not met him and you're coming to Florida soon, you guys, Brian Underwood is incredible. He is a visionary. He sees things and then he goes after it. He's a go, go, go. And the last thing I'm going to say before I'm having him come on, he is a speed man. Let's go. Let's get this done. Let's create conversations. Hey, I'm running. Come with me. And I remember meeting him and we didn't have the tools we have today. We didn't have the systems. We didn't even have these Zoom. There was no Zoom. There was a couple calls we could hop on sometimes. We didn't have anything besides a powder and a packet and a couple of us that were believing that where Brian was taking us was going to work. And I would call him and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. And he would go, 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 go. Just, you can do it. Go, go, go. Let's go. Conversations, conversations. And that's what we did. And so I'm excited for you to hear from him tonight. And we're going to have the conversation around speed. So, Mr. Brian Underwood, how is your evening? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I appreciate the introduction. That made me feel good. So thank you very much.
Well, it's all true.
Well, it's no, it is. It's funny the conversation that we're going to have tonight really came up. I was just kind of reflecting, and I think that what I was reflecting on is I think there's so many times that people. I'll just kind of give you a snapshot really quick, not to bore you with my background if I haven't talked to you. But I think the biggest update tonight is like how you can go from where you're at to what you want to accomplish and looking at this as a business. And most businesses in the world never get a lift off. They never get any energy, momentum. That's why most of them fail, right? 99% of the businesses that start, they fail within the first year. And so, and failure is all, subjective, I guess, depending on what you're looking to accomplish. But the one thing that I do know after 30 years of being in this business is I understand, the patterns and the predictable patterns. And how it usually starts off is that, you have a couple tiers of people. You have like a tier 1 person, a tier 2 person, and a tier 3 person. And the tier doesn't have anything to do with like who they are as people. It has everything to do with like their belief, their skill sets, their ability to believe. And, a lot of times you'll see the pattern, really in the first week, I would say, the first 3 weeks, the first month. Let's just call it the first 30 days. And what happens is someone gets in, they get excited, they sign up, they want to be a promoter, they want to go build a business. They go out, they talk to three, four people, maybe five if they're go-getters, and they might not get the results. And they start questioning, is this for me? Is it me? They start losing a little confidence. Sometimes they start feeling all alone, but then the second week they say, you know what? They get it up again and they go and they might talk to two people. And then by the third week they talk to one and then they kind of disappear. And what happens a lot is, I hear business leaders or people that are managing them, they'll be like, well, they just weren't committed, and it wasn't really a commitment problem. And the thing I wanted to get across to you all tonight is I've seen this not only with our company, I've seen it with dozens and dozens of companies over the last 30 years. But the reality of it is it's a speed problem. They feel all alone. They don't get caught up in speed, or energy or momentum. And they kind of quietly quit. It has nothing to do with them, their skill set, their commitment level. But a lot of times, belief in energy can carry someone. And I just thought to myself, over the last 30 years, all the little one liners I've heard so many times, in this business. And there's this word called duplication. And that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get where Stephanie's experienced it. She's seen it go from one promoter to 10 promoters to 19 promoters to 42 promoters to 182 promoters to 1,000 promoters. And then she saw her customers go from 10 customers, 100 customers, 200 customers, 1,000 customers. And it felt like it was just happening with or without her. But it had nothing to do with her commitment. It had everything to do that she got caught up in speed and energy. And, duplication doesn't happen like you might think. That's a myth. It doesn't go get two. Those two go get two and it's four. Those four go get two and it's eight. Those eight go get two and it's 16, 27, 81, whatever it goes to. But it does grow very fast and it exponentially grows. But duplication is not taught. And then what happens is people get this massive momentum, and you hear the stories of people making 100 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 20 grand a month, and you scratch your head and you're like, well, why isn't that happening to me? And that's what happens a lot. But and then people turn into trainers and they want to train people on how it's supposed to happen and what they're supposed to do. But the people that experience that, they get caught up in speed. And duplication isn't taught, it's caught. A mentor of mine back when I was 20, 21 years old, he used to say to me, he's like, listen, it's monkey see, monkey do. No matter what you tell someone, they're going to do what you do, and you can't hide what you do. And so if you're on this call right now, and this is the perfect timing to this is exactly what location is to real estate. It's the perfect timing for you to create liftoff, for you to create exponential growth in your business, to 10x your business. However, in order to 10x your business, do you all want to know how to 10x your business, by the way? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Then you have to transfer what you're doing to someone else. You can't teach them what you're doing. You got to do it to them. And my mentor also used to say this. He goes, you can't teach the magic, you do the magic. And it's magic. When you get caught up in momentum, it's magic. Well, how do you define the magic? Well, that's part of the beautiful thing. Like, you don't want it defined. The minute you start training on the magic disappears. Right? So if you ever went to Siegfried and Roy, when I was growing up, I used to love Siegfried and Roy. First time I went to Vegas, it was magical for me. They had all these tigers on stage. They would make them disappear. They'd make them go from here to over here and then in the audience. It was unbelievable. If you've ever been to David Copperfield, right? Like, you see these magicians and it makes you start believing that, I mean, things magical could happen, and they truly can. But the minute they turn on the lights and they start explaining to you how the things work, you start losing the appeal of wanting to watch it. And I believe that that's very similar to what we do. Is we have to do the magic. We can't teach the magic because it won't ever have that same level of emotional pull and experience if we're trying to logically define it to people. And at the end of the day, our business model is logical. You get paid just like a franchise. You get paid off customers. How many locations do you want to go get customers? Instead of locations, we're just building it through people by building communities of people that are training and showing people our product. And so I want you all to remember that momentum and duplication isn't taught, it's caught. And so what I see is that I want you all to get a perspective of how to get speed in your business. And I'm really curious, I don't want to go over this on this call, but that's how we did. And to be honest, speed is determined, you've heard speed of the pack is determined by what? It's always the same. Is you have to be the leader. Period. Otherwise, you're capitalizing off the speed of the person you're following. And I'm asking you this, the person you're following, what are they doing? If they're calling you 15 times a day or 25 times a week, it's a clue that says they don't have a lot going on, right? They're not busy enough. Is so you might have to become the leader. And your speed is going to determine your liftoff. And here's what I mean. Have you ever been in an airplane? Have you ever taxied from the gate out to the runway? Well, whenever the plane gets ready to take off, does it just go taxi speed and all of a sudden it just floats up and into the air? No, it has to get maximum velocity. We actually did a training on this and we called it max Q. And the reason we called it max Q is we wanted people to understand the velocity of what it takes to lift off into space. And there's this equation behind it, but it has everything to do with inertia, speed, velocity. But you have the ability to create your own max Q. Max Q is the formula that astronauts will tell you that it takes to get the space shuttle up into space or a rocket out of the Earth's atmosphere. If you want your income and your business to go out of the Earth's atmosphere, you have to become the max Q. And here's what I mean. Whenever you're on the plane, no, you stop, they turn on the engines, they jet the engines, they're brake torquing it, and then it takes off. And they get the maximum amount of speed they can in the shortest period of time. And that speed allows the air to get underneath the wheels and the wings and it lifts you off. And what a lot of people do is they're trying to casually lift their business off the ground, and you can't do it by talking to one person this week and maybe one person next week. All you're doing is like buying a lottery ticket. You're hoping that you're going to have a talk with this one guy. They call it the TOG syndrome, or this one girl, and that person's going to enroll and they're going to magically build you a business. But remember, people do what you do, they don't do what you tell them. And that is the basic 101 that we don't iterate enough, especially when you're just getting plugged in. And regardless of where you are, this is a reset for your business. This is the perfect timing because we're dropping K1. We're getting ready to create velocity behind the whole DTS system. And so my question is, if you're sitting on the runway right now, like we all are, how much gas are you going to give it? If you go to any, I challenge you, go to AI and tap it into ChatGPT. Say, do research on every, network marketing trainer and what creates momentum. And usually it's all a compressed body of work in a short period of time, but it has to do with what you're doing, not what you're teaching. So it's a go on a 100-day run, a 90-day run, a 30-day run, a 45-day run, like enroll 15 new people in 45 days. And so when we first got started, I can tell you, I would really challenge people. Go get 100 new people, both directly and indirectly, in your business this weekend. And like that, it's that level of immersion. I was very fortunate to get a Tony Robbins book when I was like 19 years old. I read it. My mid 20s, I got to go see his event, and I think he's the best at personal development that I've ever seen. Um, I believe he was the outlier. He's able to take all this information and format it, and his delivery and his handle on human behavior is unreal. And the one of the things that he and I learned, and I believe, it's about total immersion. So you go to his 3-day, 5-day event, and this is how we modeled our entire event program. is instead of like trying to course this out over like 3 months, he says, I'm going to total compress it and we're going to stay up and until our outcome is achieved from 9 a.m. to a lot of times 1 and 2 in the morning. And we're going to immerse ourselves in an entire weekend to better ourselves. And that immersion floods our nervous system and it does something to us that we retain and our subconscious pulls it in way more than if we panned it out over 90 days. Elon Musk, who I believe is a genius, I saw him on a podcast the other day, and he said, I just believe my body of work is I press myself to create speed. So, we put our own constraints on ourselves, but I'd rather create momentum. And he used an example. It's kind of like cleaning the house. If we say we're going to give ourselves a week to get the house clean, it takes us a week. And I could relate to that because I was the one that, I had 3 months to study before the final exam and I didn't pace it out. I waited until the very last minute, but I was able to get it all in, right? Because there was a deadline. There's a clock. And if you really think about it this way, if we can start a 45-day challenge with you and you knew that it would lift off your business, or it would just tell you, okay, I got to do another 45 days for my business to lift off, but it's this total immersion to do more in 45 days than most people do in 2 years, then it has to propel your business forward in an exponential manner. But what's happening is that if your business isn't where it is, there's not enough speed behind it. There's not enough speed in front of it or behind it. But you have to be the speed. You're the win that people are going to catch. Does that make sense? And so, Elon Musk said, but if we give ourselves 3 hours, the same house, the same mess, we find a way to get it clean. So he said, what a lot of companies say that they're going to take 3 years to do, I give my team 3 months to do it, right? He creates speed, and that pressure creates diamonds. And so, I just want you all to like really understand this that your taxiway into flight is going to be determined by your speed. The taxiway into 10x in your business is determined by your speed, and your speed should be measured by the amount of new promoters that you're getting and new customers you're getting. And usually, I think it takes 10 to 15 to 20 to start getting lift off in a very short period of time because half of them are going to quit immediately because again they're going to go talk to 3 people. Those 3 people might or might not do anything, then 2, then 1, and then they're going to start questioning themselves. But if you have speed and they see what you're doing and they see this energy and they feel this energy and they're on with Stephanie, then they're on with you, then they're like, oh my gosh, I can't lose. Right? They don't feel alone because speed and momentum makes it feel like it has an automatic kind of like a fear of loss, like I'm not alone in this. And that's able to become contagious. It's really kind of a belief system that's raised subconsciously that they don't even know it. So the one word that's going to change everything for each and every one of you is how much are you immersing yourself into your business right now? I remember a mentor of mine used to tell me, if your kid's life depended, I didn't have kids, but I could relate. He used to say from stage, if your kid's life depended on you going out and finding 5 customers in the next week and 5 new promoters in the next week, would you do it or die? And the answer I know is yes, right? But a lot of times we don't put enough leverage on ourselves. We don't put enough velocity and speed to get it over with. The other one line I always heard was fast is fun and slow is painful because slow is painful because it allows doubt. Is this ever going to work? Oh my gosh. Now, for some people, it depends on what your outcome is that are in it. Some people are in it for what? For the social aspect, the belonging, and that's fine. We don't want to blow them out of the business. The business has a lot of different variables. It has a lot of different nuances, a lot of different dynamics when it comes to human behavior. It's one of the reasons why I fell in love with it, 30 years ago is because there's so much more that it offers in terms of value for families and individuals, depending on, what stage of life they're in, what season of life that they're in. So tonight's conversation, I want you to understand, is really tailored more for, I would say, the top 5% of the people that really want to 10x their business. They want to make life-changing income the way Stephanie and Steve did, when they went from, the car you saw to really owning any car that they wanted to without having to worry about it. And I want y'all to understand that it's not going to be technique. It's not going to be understanding. It's not going to be intelligence. It's going to be speed. It's going to be immersion and speed. How much speed are you operating with? And so I'm curious, and I want to see this in the chat thread, and Stephanie's going to keep me on point with this. How many of you would be interested in tuning in if we just did a workshop and we had a special system to teach you immersion and challenge you for even content creation? Would you want to jump in? Even if we said it's part-time, like what a lot of people don't understand is that you can totally immerse yourself part-time with a full-time focus. You would be amazed. Like how many of you have been on social media today? Quite a few of you, right? How many of you, if I said that I could show you one simple equation, that if you would commit yourself just to 3 hours a day, whether it was in the morning before work, as soon as you got off work, or whether it was at late night, right? Say 10 to 1 before you went to bed. But you could outpace every content creator out there in 1 year. Would you be willing to take 3 hours of your day every single day and totally immerse yourself if you knew it would change your life in every aspect of your life? I don't know. See, I know that we say, yes, we would, but that's where it comes down to that intangible thing that I always say when people say, well, what's the demographic of people to have success in this business? Well, I think it's their burning desire. A lot of people, the burning desire, they turn into red because they'll do it or die. If they can't find the way, they make the way, right? I think that it's a little bit, I think it's not as much motivation. That's a mechanism. I think it's as much desperation as anything else. I really believe that over 30 years. However, I will say this to you is, um, is that little bit of desperation and inspiration, it's just like health. Like I looked at myself with pictures to this weekend with my son, and I'm like, man, I got to start getting in shape. Like I need to drop 20 pounds. I need to be at 15, 16% body fat. And I know how to do it, you all. Like I've done it before. I know how to do it. All the education and intelligence is out there. Hell, I could go to ChatGPT right now. They would give me an entire script that if I just followed it. However, it doesn't hurt bad enough yet for me. I'm too content. I'm too comfortable in my life, right? Even though I see the picture. So you have to truly ask yourself if you're on this call, where are you at financially? What do you really, we all want to make $1 million. And by the way, it can happen this fast. If I told you how many people caught up in the speed that I created and we created as a community, and they made more money than they ever fathomed possible, it would blow you away. And it wasn't done over 3 years. It was done in a 6 month immersion where nothing else, they immersed themselves in what we were doing. And they created speed in everything that they were doing, and that caught on. But there has to be someone that creates that speed. But even if I teach you the system, it doesn't mean you're going to do it. But I'm willing to show and expose that system to you all if you all want to do it. But again, it's like me working out. You have to be disciplined and do it, right? And do it with a high level of intensity and focus. But it's just 3 hours a day. 3 hours. And so, I wanted to just talk to you about that because I think a lot of people, they let themselves off the hook, just like me with my health, right? Is not that I'm in awful health, but I could be in a lot better health. But I make all these excuses in my mind. I negotiate with myself. So I want you to really think about that and process it. And for those that say, yes, let's do it, maybe we'll have a filter process, because the thing that you have to do is create a standard where you don't allow yourself to negotiate your way out of it. Because look, if we can't con ourselves, like we know ourselves too well, we know what stories we tell ourselves to let ourselves, well, my kids are the most important. Well, this is the most important. Well, this, and I'm not, priorities are never in conflict, right? But we also have to understand that whatever priorities we choose, the results will follow. Does that make sense? So we really have to find a way to negotiate with ourselves that if you're going to make a plan, that plan becomes non-negotiable within yourself. And so that's just what I wanted to share with you. I think that let it sit, let it marinate, let it process. But I really believe that, at the end of this month, we want to create a lot of immersion and inertia going into May in the summer. And that's why we kind of waited to drop K1. So it's perfect timing this month. Everyone, will be able to offer to all their customers K1, which increases, more validation of not only our product and education, more conversations, but it gives you a lot of bullets in your gun to create a lot more activity. Because the more customers you have, the more conversations into promoters, which allows you to expand your business. And I do believe today is the most exciting time to be a part of entrepreneurship, especially home based business, because now we actually have what I'm calling the barbell theory is we have all of this intelligence that you don't even have to be smart anymore. You have all this intelligence at your fingertips, and we're going to start teaching you all how to actually use that and apply it within our business. All the stuff in between, like when you have a barbell with two weights, doesn't really matter. But then on the other side of the barbell, which is so important, is the human element is going to be very, very important. I think just for humanity in itself. And the human element is the feelings that we get with other people, spending time, being present. And, that's one of the arts of our business that it's very hard to even talk about the value of that, but it's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of. I've generated over $100 million just in commissions through network marketing in my 30 years. There's not a lot of people that can say that. And this isn't about me. But for a lot of people, they'd be like, man, that's the thing I would be the most grateful for. But it's truly not. I would say that the thing that I'm most grateful for is the impact we've made on people's lives, their souls, their awareness, their compass of like what's available to them in the world. Whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in. I don't want to get into a religious conversation, but that happened because of the hearts that we pour in to our community. We can't change human behavior. People are going to act the way they act no matter what. There's predictable patterns to that, social dynamics. But the reality of it is that the greatest compliment I've ever gotten and the thing that I'm most grateful for is when people come back or text me and say, you know what, I didn't become a millionaire with Pruvit, but it got me on my way, but it did shift my life because of the events we came to. I was in a very dark place. I mean, I could literally pull, hundreds of messages, and some of them would blow you away for that. And I think that Stephanie could share it with you as well. And those are the things I'm the most grateful for. And so that's the timing we have of where we're at. Never before are we going to see an acceleration of using and adopting real technology and intelligence and don't even call it artificial amplified intelligence with AI. And it can be overwhelming. So how do you simplify that? But then also, what is the it factor? The it factor is you. It's your heart, it's your personality, it's who you are, it's who can relate to you. And those two things I think are what's going to create not only wealth but quality of life in the future. And so I think it's a really exciting time. For some people, it can be very scary. I understand that, because we don't know how to use it. Some of us already feel left behind. It can be overwhelming. But I think that's what we do collectively as a community is we kind of bring it down to a relatable place to where we all can capitalize and be a part of it and learn together and grow together. But it's an exciting time in terms of what can be done and what can be done with efficiency and effectiveness. So, with that being said, Stephanie, I think I've worn out my welcome, but
No,
I'm
no,
going to turn it
no.
back over to
Don't
you.
go somewhere yet. I mean, here's what I wrote down. There's so many things that you said that just made me go, yes. Like 10 years ago, I get asked all the time, like, how in the world did you do it with four little baby girls, right? How did you do this business? And it's exactly what Brian said in the beginning is uh, I just saw Brian going and we just didn't know a lot. We just knew like he had the belief and like you said 3 hours a day, people would go, "How did you do it with such little kids?" And I was like, "I stayed up late. Like I got up early. Like I knew what we wanted as a family once we actually saw the vision and we made the time and found the time." And so I'm excited for you to have more conversations around what that actually looks like. I will tell you that whoever joins us in Florida, I think that will be some of the conversation. So, Brian, real quick before you go, why don't you tell them like why should they join us in Florida in the beginning of May? Like, what will some of those conversations look like? I mean, is that some of the stuff you're going to talk about when we're all together?
Well, I mean, I was talking to Dustin a little bit about Florida today, and really, I think how we're going to orchestrate this event is, first of all, I believe this, and a mentor taught me this. Stephanie's heard me say this, and some of you have heard me say this, not 100 times, but 1,000 times, and that is 90% of life is showing up. You never know what's going to happen unless you show up. And I always believe that showing up brings us more value than we anticipate if we show up and we're open. I think for a lot of people, just getting out of our current environment there's actually research and science behind this, allows our brain to open up into the possibilities of what's possible. Sometimes we get so closed into the four walls of our own home or the environment that we're living in all the time and the same energy. It's important if you want to manifest and create to even change your furniture around, change the colors on your walls around sometimes. I mean, it's proven scientifically what that does to your nervous system and your brain. Not to get hokey on you, but I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. It's going to be inspirational. We're going to have real conversations. I think a lot of it, we want to really drive the conversation in the event. We have a lot of information on K1. We have some great, we're always going to educate because I believe the more we educate, the more value we give to the world, the more value that comes back to us for what we're educating them on. So you're going to get education that no one's gotten before, and all of that is going to be value that you can take to the world and make money with our platform. You're also going to get, I think, some great feels with some of the human beings that will be there. For some of us, we need that. I know that I do. But I think that we want to also curate content based on who's showing up. So it really helps us when we know you're showing up and who you're showing up with and like what you want out of the event. So maybe on that call, one of the things that we can do is a pre-event with the people that are registered. I want to know who is coming. And when I say that, I don't want to know your name. I want to know who is coming to the event. What are you coming for? Like, what are you looking for? What do you really want to identify? Why are you coming? What is it that you want out of this business? Emotionally, what will it change in your life? Like, do you want to be a go-getter? Do you want to 10x your business? Are you a go-getter? Are you a red personality, a yellow personality? Are you just happy to be happy? Are you content in your life? Are you truly satisfied with where you are financially? Are you frustrated? Like, frustration is a great tool because, on the other side of frustration is breakthrough. Like, sometimes we have to get frustrated to figure out our way, our path. But I want to know who we're talking to, and because that's going to dictate. Because the thing that I've also learned is if you try to convince somebody against their will, they're of the same opinion still. Meaning, if we push people that don't want to be pushed too hard, even at our event, we push them out, right? If we start doing deep work on people that aren't ready for it, they zen out and they get home and they just are like they go into a bliss. And we've done every side of the spectrum at our events. But the one thing that I will promise you is we're going to deliver value and we're going to deliver vision of where we're going and what's possible for you with us in the next 12 months. And then also, we're going to give you a deep education in a short period of time, on K1 and ketones. So, I just believe that if you're really serious about doing something, then you have to be there.
So good. Well, I'll tell you this, the education is always incredible, personal growth, but it will grow your business. Every time we've gone, every time if it builds your own belief, but you have people watching you and going like, what are they doing? And it's only going to amplify what you're doing and make you more excited to go, go, go. So I promise you it's going to be incredible. If you're looking for the details, it's in the Pulse app. It's called Crossover. You can grab your ticket. It's May 1st through the 3rd. You can team up with people, ask your team who's going, and we've had people like throw 4, 5, 6 people. People slept in bathtubs. I'm not even kidding, you guys. Like, funniest story, I had somebody that couldn't join or couldn't afford to go, and they were farmers and they sold a cow. This was like 8 years ago to be able to afford tickets and flights to be able to go to the event. And so we always say, get resourceful. If you can come, we want to see you come. If you can't, let's guess what? It's okay. Because priorities are never in conflict, like Brian says, but it's going to be worth your time, I promise. And so, Brian, we will get that next Zoom set up sometime either this week or next Monday and talk about your exclusive, like, I would say, content. I know you had an idea you were sharing earlier about, like, what would that look like to give 3 hours a day? What does that content look like? At the end of the day, how do we build this business? We attract people to us and we have conversations. We have conversations and we ask people to join us. So you're sharing your story. Where are you going, right? Where do you want to go? What are the goals that you're achieving, right? And also asking people to join you in whatever it's a health goal or financial goal. Like if you're sharing and you have a vision, that's what Brian did to us. Brian knew where he was going. He cast a vision and we were like, I've never seen that. I want that too for our family. And so we followed him because he was running real fast. And so, Brian, before you go, anything else that you want to share?
No.
All right. Here's what I want you guys to know. We will put another Zoom together very, very soon. So for those who are like me, I want to be in the exclusive Zoom. We will get that. We'll get a date out. We'll have another conversation about it's really attracting and it's really how are we going to attract and what you have to do really just in the, I'm going to say internet world, right? And so some of you feel like you're experts at it. Some of you are like, I need a little bit more help. At the end of the day, you be you, go tell your story, invite people to join you in this journey because I promise you it's going to change your life and it will change theirs. So, all right, at the end of the day, I want to say thank you for giving us some of your time. Watch the Pulse app. So, in the Pulse, we do have the Tampa event. We do have the free for free points. There's smart ship updates that have gone in there. And right now, we do have the three partner. Like if somebody joins you as a partner, it's free if they grab one of the K1 packs. So that will either A, it was pulsed out or it will be repulsed. It is free for them. You know how it's normally $49. They can join you. Grab a pack, get some more people to Florida with you, have so much fun on the beach. And I think that's it. So thank you for your time. Give everybody some hearts or give Brian some hearts in the chat. Thank you, Brian, for sharing with us. We will be doing more of these. And then we do have a guest call on Thursday. So keep your eyeballs on the pulse. Lots of fun things coming. Invite anybody that needs to join you. People need the business and they need the product. Invite them to join you on Thursday. They're going to hear about both of them. All right, your presence matters. Have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.